Alright, welcome back. We're doing another one of these where I sit down and I talk about something and you listen. Is that cool? Alright. This might be a long one. I think it's the most notes I've written for an episode, like ever. So, whew, I guess we'll see. This will be a good long one, maybe. Maybe it won't be. I don't know. Maybe I'll breeze through these. We are talking about the MMO Runescape. As always, we'll talk about my history first, and then we'll go through it from there. So my history of the game. RuneScape is a game, I think it came out in like 2001. Is that right? 2001, maybe 2003? I've watched my fair share of history videos. I wasn't playing back then. It kind of came onto my radar around like 2006, 2007, 2008. I don't know when exactly. I knew I made an account. I didn't play much. I just kind of knew it existed. Maybe I had some friends play it at school. I just remember seeing the iconic like login screen, typing in my password, forgetting my password, having to reset it. I remember doing that. I don't remember anything about playing the game, but that's about my experience with it back in the day. And then it, drifted off my radar. I started playing other games. Didn't really get into MMOs at all. And it's always like the game it's been going on, it's been in development for, gosh, what is it? I think they passed their 20th anniversary recently. So it's been around for a long time. But I've never really played it. Just kind of listen in for when updates are happening. Or if any crazy drama happens, you gotta pay attention to that. But RuneScape just kind of chugged along without me. I just lost interest as the years went on. And then old school RuneScape is announced. In 2007, 2008, there was RuneScape. And then I got a bunch of updates. They added new graphics engine, they added new quests, they added monetization through like microtransactions. They added so much stuff, and people kind of became disillusioned with the game at a certain point. And then, there was a poll, people showed interest, so Jagex, the creator of RuneScape, launched an old school server from the heyday of when people really liked the game, 2007. And it was weird that, like, these two versions of the game coexist. I guess it's not that weird these days with a WoW Classic, and I think there's some other MMOs that do that. But it's like, there's two versions of RuneScape that are like almost completely different experiences. They're still the same game in a way, but it's like two different timelines. Especially nowadays with all the updates to the old version. Because, when they added the old school RuneScape, I think it came out in like 2013 maybe? Wait a minute, just hit its 10th anniversary, so yeah, it was in 2013. Came out 10 years ago, and that was the 2007 version of the game. But since then, in the 10 years since, they've added new content, new quality of life updates, new everything. So it's like the RuneScape timeline split, and there's two different directions you can enjoy the game. And if you go to like runescape.com or something, I think that's the URL, it has like just two boxes. Do you want to play RuneScape or old school RuneScape? And I think it's so cool that those two exist. And I guess to specifically talk about old school RuneScape, because that's what this video is about, old school RuneScape always appealed to me. I've always had this desire to play it since it came out in 2013. I don't know if I wanted to play. I guess it seemed appealing. Old school RuneScape specifically. RuneScape 3, which is what the new version is, I don't know if it has, I think it's just called RuneScape, but people call it RuneScape 3 to kind of differentiate it from old school. RuneScape 3 seems neat, but it's kind of, I guess first and foremost, it has microtransactions. I guess old school RuneScape also has microtransactions in a way, in that you can buy bonds, which you can either exchange for 14 days of membership, or you can exchange for in-game gold. But RuneScape 3, it has like all the nonsense microtransactions where it's like those roulettes you can buy. I guess I don't know, I haven't played it, but I know there's just a bunch of nonsense, mobile game nonsense in that game. To me, that monetization ruins the appeal of the idea of RuneScape. The appeal of old school RuneScape is that there's just so much to do, and you can achieve so much. And just like having money, being able to pay to get things, that seems kind of like against the idea of the game itself. And I guess we'll talk about more of what the game is. And so now we're just going to exclusively talk about old school RuneScape for the rest of the video, because I don't have any experience with the new RuneScape. So, what all can you do in old school RuneScape? There's combat, obviously, you know this is an MMO. Of course, you got combat. Combat, it's pretty simple. So you think of MMOs, how those play these days, and you know you got the numbers 1 through 9. You got your spells, and maybe you got another bar we could do like modifier like shift 9, shift 6 or whatever. So you have all these spells, and it kind of revolves around you clicking them and doing cooldown management, stuff like that. Old school RuneScape's a little bit different. I guess I don't have too much experience at the end game, but it seems like it's a lot more stat oriented and kind of getting the right equipment, and there are some spells to manage and buffs to manage, but it's a lot less. I guess I don't know much about that stuff, but it feels different from modern MMO combat. And it's kind of past like the perspective. You know, if this played like Final Fantasy, like if it looked like Final Fantasy 14, but it had the same combat system, it would still feel different. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't, whatever. But the combat itself is interesting. It's pretty simple, and that's all this game needs. Well, at least it's simple for me at this point. Maybe it'll definitely get more difficult later. What else is there? There's quests. You know, quests in games, it feels like it's... I don't really think about quests as like a draw point for a game. You know, playing World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. In Final Fantasy XIV, the story... I feel like the story's the hook. It's kind of framed as like there's a main quest. And that's the enjoyable part. That's why people love Final Fantasy XIV, is because of all the characters, and you get to see this long journey they go on. And of course there's side quests to do, but does anybody really do those? There's certain chains people do, like the, the Manderville quest line. Those has like fun characters in it. But there's just so many side quests in that game that there's no reason to do. But in RuneScape, to me, it feels like quests feel different. I don't know what it is, but it feels like there's, I guess it's because there's not as many. When I played Final Fantasy XIV for my fair bit that I did play, there was just so many quests that you just ignore. Like you put on your horse blinders and you focus on the main story and that's it. But in RuneScape, there is no main story. You just kind of focus on, you just do whatever you want. There's a game to enjoy outside of the quests. But the quests themselves are enjoyable, and that's fun. And then outside of that, there's like achievement hunting. That's kind of a separate thing, but also kind of a similar thing in that you're going for a goal. But there's not really a story associated with it. You know, sometimes it's like killing this monster quickly, or it's about getting into this dungeon, or... You know, there's just all kinds of random stuff to do to complete achievements, and then once you complete so many, you get a reward. And that's cool. That's fun. This is what draws me to RuneScape. This is what I've always found so fascinating about the game, that I wish more, not even just MMOs, I wish more games would kind of embrace this. There's so many mundane things to do in this game. There's so many mundane skills. You know, fishing. Fishing is like a great, like, side addition to a game. Now think about all the games that are RPGs, and you know, you can do all these crazy combat stuff, and there's bombastic quests. But then, you know, you can just go fishing. And that's a fun little side activity to just relax, you know, decompress. There's so many of those in RuneScape. There's fishing, of course. There's cutting down trees. You can build a house. You can farm. I love the non-combat skills in games. Just in general, I wish more games would, like, embrace that. Specifically of, like, games that have combat, but then they have these side modes where you can just build a house for fun. I love building player houses. That's so much fun. I love that. I love decorating my houses and making it like an extension of me. And then, you know, I could go into the reasons why I love fishing or cutting down trees. There's just... I like having little distractions between the bombastic, you know, draw of the game. I wish more games had that. And that's what I... You know, there's so many games that go for that these days with, Rune Factory, Fantasy Life... Oh, there's some other games I could... I guess Final Fantasy XIV kind of has that. And World of Warcraft, you know, some of the games. A lot of MMOs do that kind of thing. But RuneScape feels like it really puts a focus on... Now, if you want to do combat, that's fine. But if you want to make money, if you just want to make money, you can go fishing, you can go cut down trees, you can cook, you can craft. You know, there's a whole side of the game you can choose to engage with or not to engage with. And either is equally valid. I guess this whole section's talking about me of why I like the idea of RuneScape. I like the idea of setting and achieving goals. So a lot of games these days, they really go for extrinsic rewards. You know, you get into a... You know, oh god, battle passes, that's a whole thing. Oh my god, I need to make a whole rambling video on battle passes. I definitely have enough to talk about for that. Regardless, there's just so much extrinsic motivation to play things these days. Like dopamine hits of getting crazy new rewards and crazy new mechanics and all that. And RuneScape, you know, it has that side to it. But it's also a part of is like setting my own goals. Like, of course, you know, you could have a very super long-term goal of hitting max level. But you could just have a shorter term goal of like, maybe I want to hit 40 strength. And then after that, maybe I want to hit 60 strength. Or maybe before that, you know, maybe I'll get 40 in all my stats. And then I can start going above and beyond to, you know, 60. There's a lot of self-imposed challenges you could do. There's a lot of challenges to overcome. And, you know, challenges are challenging in that they're either difficult, time-consuming, or both. So, you have, like, really hard combat encounters. I haven't gotten into that. I guess I'm kind of talking about my perspective before jumping into the game. But I kind of knew that, like, some combat encounters were really difficult. In that, you know, if you're just fighting a wolf, you can just click it, your guy will auto-attack. You know, you gotta watch your health maybe a little bit. But your guy will probably kill it and you'll probably be okay. But for some of the hard combat encounters, you know, you're bobbing and weaving between enemy attacks and you gotta, you know, flick your buffs on and off. You gotta make sure you're using the right spell, you gotta make sure you have the right items equipped. And there's just so much to do, there's so much going on. And those are the difficult challenges. And then there's the time-consuming challenges, where these aren't really difficult, they just take a lot of time. And I feel like that's what RuneScape is known for. It's, you know, if you want to hit 99 in a skill, you're going to have to grind. I think that's best exemplified by the fact that 99 is max level in any skill. Half of the XP to get to 99 is 92. Once you hit level 92, you're halfway to 99. Isn't that mind-blowing? If it was a linear scale, you know, 50 would be the middle. But this like scales up. It just goes up like crazy. 92. Level 92 is half of level 99. And the grind at that point just gets insane, so I've heard. But I kind of like that. I think it's cool that, you know, you just have so much time spent on this one thing. And you might not even want to do it for any in-game reward. You might just want to do it just to say you did it. Just to post a picture on Reddit or to send to your friends and like, look, I got level 99 woodcutting. What's that useful for? I don't know, but I did it. So yeah, there's a ton of that stuff I haven't reached yet in my current playthrough, but I like the idea of having these super long-term goals and kind of breaking it up into like shorter-term goals. And I guess that kind of piggybacks off that is RuneScape isn't afraid to waste your time. I like the slow burn of it. I like the idea of the slow burn. Delayed gratification is a thing. If you launch the game and you instantly got max level, that wouldn't be satisfying. If you launched the game from level 0 and could get to max level in, you know, 100 hours, that wouldn't be as satisfying. But if you launch the game, you start at level, I guess you technically start at level 28, because there's 28 skills. So if you start at level 28 or whatever it is, and to get to level 2,277, which is all your skills maxed to 99, that takes like, what is it, 1,500 hours? I don't know. It's like 1,000 plus hours. even the shorter goals in between hitting max level, even those take forever. You know, it could take you 100 plus hours to max, not even max, just to get a bunch of levels in one skill. The delayed gratification in that makes it all the more satisfying when you hit it. When you hit that ding and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a god, I hit level 99 fire making, of all things. I guess a thing to broaden back out a bit, something else I like about the game is that it seems like a good game for solo players. Now when it comes to MMOs, I'm not really a social person. I used to play more games with people, but nowadays I just kind of do my own thing. Like, I'll join a clan in MMOs, like when I played Final Fantasy XIV, I joined a clan just to, I guess, have people to talk to every now and then, but I didn't, you know, attend weekly things. I didn't really reach the point where I could do weekly raids or anything, but I went to a clan wedding once. That was kind of cool. That was the outlier. I'm usually not like that in MMOs. And I like MMOs that are really fit for the solo player. You can do a lot of the content by yourself, and that's drawn me to the game. And lastly, you know, something I like about RuneScape is that it's just something to do when you're bored. Something to mindlessly do while you're watching a video or watching some show. I like the idea of having a game I can just kind of have on in the background while I do other stuff. Maybe that's kind of rotten my brain a bit in that I can't just enjoy one thing, but I don't know. It's just something I've wanted for a while. So recently, for whatever reason, I guess this was about a week or two ago, I got into RuneScape. Right now I'm about 50 or so hours played, and just became a member earlier this week. I guess to talk about the free-to-play experience, because the game is free-to-play. I played most of that time, most of my 50 hours in free-to-play. And it was pretty enjoyable as a free-to-play player. You can get a lot of enjoyment out of the game without having to pay the monthly membership, which is like $13 or something, $12.50, I don't know. There is obviously some stuff locked away, like there's some skills you can't progress through. But there's enough to, you know, there's enough to enjoy the game. You know, there's all the combat stuff. There's the magic buffs, there's magic spells, there's you can do woodcutting, fire making, fishing, smithing, mining. You know, there's all these things to keep you busy if you don't want to pay. You run out of guided content pretty quickly, like quests. Quests are pretty much like the only like prepared content you can experience in the base game, in the free-to-play game. There's only like, what is it, like 15 quests in the free-to-play game, and there's like 150 in the members game once you pay up. So you can get some enjoyment. Like, I got 50 hours of enjoyment out of free-to-play, but once you run out of quests to do, it kind of gets hard to... If you can feel kind of aimless at that point. You could probably get a lot more enjoyment out of it if you're good at setting intrinsic goals for yourself, like, oh, I want to hit 60 in all my combat skills. You could theoretically do that in free-to-play if you wanted to. You know, you could probably get all your skills to 99 if you wanted to in free-to-play. There was one free-to-play quest I didn't do, Dragon Slayer 1. I could have theoretically grinded out the stats needed to get to that and be able to beat the quest. You know, it was possible. But it would have been efficient getting to that point. And when you're playing RuneScape, you know, that's what you got to think about. You know, if you're going to be spending 1,500 hours, theoretically, playing this game, what's the most efficient way to get through it? And, you know, kind of being super efficient isn't always equal to having the most fun. You know, I could have grinded out all those levels easy, but there's a lot of quests in members that, you know, give a fair chunk of experience that would have saved me a lot of time in trying to get to the levels required for Dragon Slayer. So I guess that's what RuneScape's all about, honestly. That's what I've learned in my 50 or so hours playing is, what's the right blend between having fun and being efficient in your grinding? So, I guess it's time to talk about what I liked about the game. Something I wasn't really expecting to like about the game was the writing. It's pretty funny. RuneScape is a game known for being the game where people just grind, so I didn't really anticipate much about the quests, but the quests are pretty funny. Jagex is a British studio, so it's got like a British sense of humor. It kind of, how do I explain it? It's so weird to explain something being funny. It just is funny. And, you know, once I try to explain it, it just kind of loses its luster, you know? So rather than try and over-explain why it's funny, I'll just say, it's funny. And I wasn't expecting that. It's a pleasant surprise. It makes me want to, you know, enjoy the quests. You know, I've seen a bunch of YouTube guys where people go through quests and they just spam spacebar to go through all the dialogue. But I don't want to do that. I want to know why I'm, you know, going after to save this kid. I want to know how he got himself into this situation and, you know, what the motivation of the bad guys are. There's a lot of the quests that are standalone, but there's a fair chunk of them that are, you know, in storylines. So there's one that it's like part 1 of 7 of a larger storyline about tree gnomes or, oh god, I can't remember any of the storylines, but, you know, to get the most enjoyment out of the game, you got to pay attention to that stuff. So early on, that's what I'm trying to do. So about the game mechanically, this is kind of like a vague, nebulous thing, but I feel like I'm on my own in the world of RuneScape, and I really like that. Old school RuneScape is, you know, for however much they try to make it accessible, I think it's always going to have this level of inaccessibility. There's this level of rejecting player convenience. Think about how much games these days bend over backwards to be convenient to you. Think about all these systems you can access straight from the pause menu of, like, you know, transmogrifying gear, or selling gear, or dismantling gear, leveling up. You know, there's just so much stuff you can do. It's at your fingertips. And the game, like I said, it bends over backwards to make sure everything is within reach of you at all times. And RuneScape really doesn't like to do that. Old school RuneScape. I don't know what RuneScape 3 is like in terms of player convenience. I know it's a bit more convenient that there's more frequent teleport, and you can like teleport from anywhere in the world map in RuneScape 3. You have to go to specific points in the world to teleport in old school RuneScape. Or you have to buy an item, a consumable item, that teleports you to one place. You know, you have to buy a Varrock teleport from the Grand Exchange. Or you have to buy runes to cast Varrock teleport. There's no tutorial or guidance. It's just, you're just plopped in a world and you gotta figure out what to do. There's a lot of this game where you gotta look up guides outside of the game. Did I make a video on that talking about like external sources for games? I think I kind of dabbled in it with the walkthroughs video. This game, you really need to have the wiki open like at all times. To have like, okay, what do I do for this quest? How do I progress through? How do I do this in the most efficient way? God, there are some quests where I've been following the quest guide and I have no idea how I would do this by myself. How I would figure this out without a step-by-step guide. Some of it seems unfair, to be honest, where it's just so much nonsense to try and figure out. Like, they expect you to have a guide. I guess a lot of the quests were made back in 2005. Maybe I've done a few of the newer quests from like 2016 of the new old school RuneScape era. But a lot of the older quests, at least, they're just complete nonsense about click here, then click here, then click here, and then you gotta go talk to this guy that you didn't even know you had to talk to. Yeah, I guess it comes back to the game just doesn't cater to you as the player character. You know, you're not the hero. You gotta do a lot of the stuff yourself. And gold, you know, gold is like I guess it's called GP. GP is at the heart of the economy of RuneScape. The Grand Exchange is a system where players, you know, they put up items for sale, and another player can say, I want to buy an item at this price, and if someone has available for that price, you know, money gets exchanged and the item gets exchanged. And that's where a lot of your money will come from. You know, you'll get some from quests, but not a lot. Most of it comes from, you know, maybe in the middle of a quest you kill a rare monster and it drops a rare item. And you can go sell that for a big chunk of money. Or maybe you just go fishing for like hours. And then once you're done, you sell all those fish and you make a fair chunk of change. I guess that kind of segues into the next point of like the sandbox nature of the game. You can really focus on whatever you want. Like if you want to be someone who just does combat stuff, you will have to do a fair amount of stuff like to level up your other skills to the point where you can do the harder quests. But gosh, there's even some like PvP modes where you can just jump in at the as a new player, level 3, level 28, whatever it is, you can jump in and it gives you gear, gives you combat stats. It gives you everything you need to play in this one game mode. And you could just play that forever. Or if you want to go cooking, if you want to be someone who makes money through cooking or through crafting or through smelting, there's just, if you want to be a money maker, there's so many ways to make your money. If you want to grind out for rare items, rare pets, rare gear, rare weapons, you could just go kill thousands and thousands of AI monsters, and you might never get the item you want. You could kill thousands of one monster and not get the item you want. Of course, I don't really jump into any of those like super hardcore play styles at this point. I'm still kind of just getting a feel for the game. So right now, it's fun just bouncing between tasks depending on my mood. So I recorded one of my play sessions for footage for this video, and I had started the quest just before I started recording the footage, so got to finish that, and then I was like, you know what, maybe I'll do some agility training. So I do some running around on some rooftops for that, to get my agility skill up. And I'm like, okay, what else is there to do? And then I go train Slayer, and then I go fishing, and there's so much you could do in this game. There's just so many things to do. You can do quests, you can go train agility, you can complete an achievement diary, you can do so many mini games, you can do PvP. You can go out into the wilderness and kill people and steal their equipment. There's no shortage of things to do in this game, and I love it for that. And now that I've talked about the good, you know what's coming next. I gotta talk about the bad. I talked about the slow burn nature of the game, and how I like that, it's a slow burn. The delayed gratification really gets you to appreciate when you achieve your goal. But I have to wonder, is this game too much of a slow burn? When I paid for my first month, the first thing I did was start to train agility, because as your agility skill goes higher, you can run for longer. That's a good thing to get done early on, because you can get places quicker. And training that is just so mind-numbing. I did a little bit of it for this video. You'll see me run a few laps around a rooftop. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, but you just click, you wait like 10 seconds, you move your mouse, you click, wait 5 seconds, you click, and then you're done with that lap, and then you do it again, and then again, and then again, and then like 60 times. And maybe that gets you like 7 levels. Not even that, maybe it gets you like 4 levels. It's just, you put in so much time for such little reward. And Slayer, oh my gosh, Slayer seems like a cool skill. There's the traditional like MMO trope of go out and kill 10 boars, kill 10 rats. Everyone knows of that trope. RuneScape has a whole skill based around that trope. You'll go to a Slayer master and they'll say, go kill some rats for me, and then you go do it and you come back and you get a reward. But instead of kill 10 rats, it's more like kill 170 rats. Now, that's technically more late game stuff. I did my first Slayer task for this video, actually, and it had me go kill 27 wolves. So I went out and I killed I think 10, 13 wolves, and went to go do something else. But only 10 wolves. Man, that must get boring after a while, right? Like when I get to the end game and I see kill 170 ghosts. I don't know what kind of monsters it'll throw at me, but kill 170 goblins or whatever. That just sounds like a nightmare. It'll require you to kill like 100 to 200 of one monster. One single monster. And you can choose to extend that if you get an easier monster to kill. So maybe you could spend hours killing 270 goblins or whatever. Gosh. I mean, that sounds cool on paper. I dipped my toes into Slayer a little bit recording the footage for this video. And I'm not sure what endgame Slayer is going to be like. I think it's cool. But am I going to be annoyed when I get to kill 170 wolves or whatever? I don't know, man. I don't know. And a lot of the skills are like that. Fish at one spot for 20 hours, cut trees for 100 hours, run around rooftops for countless hours to train your agility. It's just mind-numbing. I think about all that grind I have ahead of me, and I have to ask myself, is that a problem with the game or with me? Because I know a lot of people enjoy RuneScape. A lot of people enjoy it specifically for that. Now the grind is what RuneScape is. RuneScape is synonymous with grinding. If they were to take out that grind of, kill 170 rats, is Slayer Slayer if you don't have to kill 170 monsters? I don't know. Part of getting level 99 in a skill is showing that, I went through some shit to get here. I sat at my computer and I clicked for hundreds of hours to get this skill to where it is. And, I feel like to take that away would be to, take away part of the game's core identity. Who am I to say that RuneScape is too grindy? Maybe it's just not for me, and that's fine. Still not quite at that point yet, so we'll see how I feel later down the line. And then another negative point, this is definitely not a problem of the game, but it's stopped me from enjoying it to its fullest, is that I just hate sitting down for a long time. It's easy to play another game for an hour and feel like I accomplished something. When I'm playing Battlefield's another game I'm playing recently, 2042. Made a rambling video about that recently. There's a lot going on in a Battlefield 2042 match. You're killing people, you're healing teammates, you're capturing objectives. There's a lot of flashing lights to, trick your brain into thinking stuff's going on. And with RuneScape, compared to a Final Fantasy XIV or a World of Warcraft, it's like all that shiny exterior of like, oh, there's a lot going on. It's taken away, and you get to see the game for the bare bones core that it is. You just click on a tree, you chop it, you click it again. Oh, the tree fell down. Gotta go chop another. It's the MMO experience distilled to its core. It's video games distilled to its core. It's like the ultimate Skinner box. Is that applicable? I don't quite remember what the Skinner box is, but it's... Pretty sure it's a thing where it's like you're conditioned to press a button, and then it dispenses some reward. It's like, it's that distilled to its core. You got simple graphics, you just click a button to do a skill, and then eventually you get a level up, and then you can go do it somewhere else. When it's so bare like that, when you get to see the game for like the systems that it is, it's just kind of hard to get immersed in that, Does that make sense? I mean, gosh, if I were to max all the skills in RuneScape, there's 23 skills to get to 99. And remember earlier I said 92, level 92 is half of level 99. You would have to maxing out all those skills takes you to level 2,277. That would take an insane amount of time. And just sitting down and doing that. I've played games for 1,500 hours. I've played Dota 2 for like, gosh, what is it, 1,300 hours-ish? If I was still into that game, I could have put in 200 more hours and theoretically have a maxed out character. But I don't know, just playing RuneScape, it's different, And I guess talking more about sitting down, I just don't like my computer chair. I can't really sit down in it for prolonged periods of time, it's not comfortable. I prefer playing games sitting on my comfy couch with a controller. Kind of gravitated towards playing games that support controllers more these days. So there's a lot of games I'm just not playing. And RuneScape's a game that doesn't support controllers. So I have to be at my desk, mouse and keyboard, and I'm clicking. It's a game I gotta be at attention for. A mobile version does exist where you can play it on a phone or a tablet, but I'm not really a fan of doing quests on mobile, which is kind of what I'm doing at this point early on. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll switch to mobile more as I get into the late game stuff. I don't know. So we'll close out the video with the final question. Will I stick with it? And that's one I can't answer, honestly. I'm not sure. It's kind of scary and it's kind of exciting in a way. I'm at a crossroads right now. This could be a game where I have hundreds of hours ahead of me. Maybe I make videos on it. Maybe RuneScape becomes a part of my daily ritual over months or, gosh, even years. Maybe RuneScape just becomes a part of me. Or I could stop playing next week. You know, it's kind of daunting to think that I could be playing RuneScape for 1,000 hours going forward. Like, think about all that time I could be spent playing other games I've wanted to play for so long. Yeah, I mean, it's more likely that I'll stop playing sooner rather than later. You know, if I were a betting man, I would bet that I'm not going to play hundreds of hours of RuneScape. But you know what? I'll enjoy it while I can. I'm having fun. Still got a lot of quests ahead of me. Still got a lot of stuff to do before I hit the massive grind. Maybe once I hit that point, I quit. That's fine. That's fine. Alright, well that's it. Thanks for watching. As always, leave a comment suggesting a topic for a future video. You know, what else do I do here? I talk about games, talk about topics. Started doing tier lists. I had that Smash Brothers tier list. I'd like to make another one of those. I don't know about what yet, though. I'll have to think about that. But yeah, leave a comment suggesting a topic for a future episode, and see you next time, I guess.